Let's fast forward a little bit. In 1960, you meet Ellie. So, what do you remember? Obviously, a professional partnership, a personal partnership, romantic partnership, rather. You got married, you wrote together exclusively, you both signed ultimately to uh, Lieber and Stoller at Trio Music. What do you remember about that?
And then, of course, we formed Redbird Records, which was a great adventure. Well, Ellie and I met when I was 4, and I think she was 3, at a wedding of her cousin, her first cousin, to one of my first cousins, right? So fade in and fade out from that little scene. Lola and Billy were their names, and I was at their home. Billy was like he taught me to drive, and he was a very cool guy. And they were telling me about Ellie, who's graduating from Hofstra College as queen of the college, actually, and as a music major. And I had some success by that time. And she said, "You guys have to meet." And it was kind of like an arranged musical marriage. It was like there was no way that wasn't going to happen. It was we got along just famously, and got married, and had a bunch of copyrights. Didn't have any kids. Just
Well, the copyrights are your children. Something else that's fascinating about your songs and your career is that you never wrote your songs specifically for an artist. You would write, an artist would come in, they would cut the song. Whoever was next, kind of to the studio, you would present the music, except for one time. You want to talk about the song that you and Ellie and Phil Spector worked on, To Order?
Well, with Phil's label, you had all these basically girl groups, except maybe for Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans. I think there was a male lead on that. No.
It was Darlene Love, wasn't it?
Was it? I think she was the lead of everything. There are so many stories about what she did and didn't sing on, and who did what.
Well, you got to write your book, Jeff. I'm ready to read it, even though it's not written yet.
But Pete, I started it, and the opening line is "Life's a movie."
There you go.
That's not surprising because that's really how I see it through a camera lens. But so whoever was next needed a single on his label. That's who would get the next song, and except when he signed Tina Turner, and there was a chance to do a little more bigger range, octavely speaking, and maybe a little more sophisticated lyrically. And we actually wrote River Deep Mountain High for Tina.
Well, that song famously is said to be the song that drove Phil, into being reclusive and a bit of a hermit because it didn't succeed the way that he expected it to. Do you have a recollection of that?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, here's what happened. He supposedly, before River Deep came out, and it sounds like Phil, he insulted in some way or did something bad, some major disc jockey. And disc jockeys were it. I mean, you needed to get on the radio. And so supposedly, it got around among the disc jockeys, and they said, well, screw him. We're not going to play his next record.
Wow.
And River Deep came out and was a hit, as I recall, everywhere except here. And I think a group called Deep Purple had a hit with it, but they didn't play the Tina Turner. And so to get revenge now on them, on the DJs, he said, I'm not going to make any more records.
One thing that our listeners may not know is that you created some of the most iconic television theme songs of all time while you were in LA. You got a call from Norman Lear in 1975 asking you if you would write the TV theme for his new show called The Jeffersons.
Yes. And I remember having discussions with him. I did I think, 3 of his TV shows. I said, I don't want, I'd rather not write a song called The Jeffersons. And well, Norman is maybe the last of my heroes that have stayed in that category to me. He was such a pleasure to work with. If he trusted you, he just let you go and do what you wanted to do. And he would invite me to the filming of the pilot, and then I would, write it from that. And it was just wonderful working with him. And interestingly enough, I can tell people titles of my hits. That one will stir more interest
Mm.
than most.